Okay, good morning. We are live this morning. I keep getting this query error. I don't know why that is, but I get it almost every time I come on. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. It's Lady Victoria this morning with Victoria's School of Etiquette, where we offer a solution to your etiquette dilemmas. I trust that everyone had a great weekend and that you are ready to start your work week on today. Ready or not, here it is, and here we are. Listen, I'm broadcasting to you live this morning. Good morning. I'm from the great windy city of Chicago. Chi-Town is what we like to call it. We are the best in the Midwest, and I welcome you to our platform on this morning. You all come on in, tag a neighbor, tag a friend, and come on in to Mind Your Manners Monday. It's Mind Your Manners Monday. This morning we want to talk about this expression that we hear oftentimes, minding your P's and Q's. Minding your P's and Q's. What does it mean to do that? What are your P's and Q's anyway? And when you're minding them, what exactly are you doing? Well, actually, that term is an old English term that originated like centuries ago. And it actually does mean to mind your manners. It, it means to mind your manners, mind your language, be on your best behavior, and watch what you are doing. That doesn't sound anything like a P or a Q anywhere in there. So, how did the phrase become associated with that language, minding your P's and Q's? There are lots of reasons why, and no one has a definitive explanation for the origin of it. We just know, good morning, good morning. We just know that it originated, like I said, back around the 19th century or so, mid 19th century. One explanation for that phrase is that it originated actually when it came to writing newspapers and typesetting. And so, old fashioned way, when they were doing newspapers writing, they had to typeset the letters, they had to typeset the words, and they typeset each letter individually. So they were talking about P's and Q's, they were saying be mindful of how you set up the typesetter. Don't put a P when it should be a Q. Make sure that you are paying attention to what you're doing and that you're not mixing up the letters because, of course, without the curly Q on the end of the letter Q, it's just a straight line. And so if you picked up the wrong one, you could be putting in the wrong letter. So that's one way. But the old English dictionary, the Oxford English Dictionary debunks that, saying, you know what, that doesn't really line up with the chronology of the senses because it was saying that automatically that your senses would know that you're doing the wrong thing, and so that just doesn't line up. And so they debunked that, saying, nah, I don't think that that's how that expression originated, and it did not originate in that manner. So they debunked that one, saying that that's not how it originated. Another train of thought is that when children were learning to write their alphabet, they would say to children, mind your P's and Q's, be careful because of the same thing. It's a straight line when you're making the letter P, and it's a straight line when you're making the letter Q. One way to remember it is that P comes before Q, so when you're putting the circle on, always mind your P's and your Q's, knowing that the straight line that you make, and if you are writing a word that begins with the letter P, then you know that the circle goes on the correct side, right? That if this is your line and then you are making the loop here, then it goes on this side. If you are making a Q, then you know that it goes on the other side. So you will put the circle on the other side. So that's another train of thought of how the phrase came to be, especially when you were writing lowercase alphabet. The positioning of the vertical line before or after the circle represented different letters. That you also have the same thing with D and B. But here specifically, we're talking about P and Q. So pupils had to be mindful of where they placed the letters when writing the alphabet. And so their train of thought was to tell them that P comes before Q. And so that's one way to do it. That's a distinction of how that phrase came about in that era. So there are many different origins about how it came about. Other origins stories, some considered fanciful, could come from French instructors to mind one's P's, Pieds, we're talking about French here, the French language, feet, and Q's referring to their wigs in that time. So these things are a little bit funny sometimes. Mind your P's and Q's when you're dancing. So mind where your feet go and make sure that you're not in dancing so fancifully until your wig could become misplaced. Not necessarily undone, but it could become displaced while you are dancing. So that's another train of thought for minding your P's and Q's. Let me see, there was one more. Oh, I like this one too. P and Q. This is another related expression of P and Q, in this way spelled P-E-E, and Q meaning K-E-W for highest quality. This was also used in 17th century English. The Oxford English Dictionary has a citation from Rowland's Knave of Hearts of 1612. Bring in a quart of Malaguo, right true. And looky, you rogue, that it be P and Q. Now that way, in this in this citation, they're talking about how the language sounds when you say it. It doesn't sound like a K; it sounds more like a Q, because Q here is spelled K-E-W, and P is of course P-E-E. Nobody is really sure what either P or Q stood for. So there's no definitive definition for how the term originated. But as you can see, there are many that have given it a try. But in the world of etiquette and in the world of just niceties and minding your manners, it means exactly that. And how it transitioned from all of these other derivatives, no one is really sure. But it has ended up here and landed here, and here is where it gets the most notation, or where it seems to have the most value. Minding your P's and Q's just means staying on top of your manners, watching what you say, being careful about your language, be on your best behavior, and watch and be careful about what you are doing. So I oftentimes explain it to students when they are taking my class, and I say, mind your P's and Q's. And I'm often waiting for someone to actually say, Lady Victoria, what exactly do you mean when you say mind your P's and Q's? And I don't go through all of this definitive about how it originated and what have you. I just simply say, it just simply means to mind your manners. And then I oftentimes talk about exactly what manners means, the difference between your manners and your protocols. And we've talked about this before. The protocol never changed. Protocols of etiquette, they never ever change. They are the same. They are the basis and the foundation for why we do what we do when we are being mannerable. Your manners will change because they grow and evolve over time. How they did manners and how they practiced manners often in the 19th century is not how we practice manners today. Even how we did things 40 years ago is not the same as how we do it today, because manners change and they grow with society, they evolve. Good morning, Antonio. So as we evolve as our society, as we grow and as we evolve, we become a more technological nation. And so technology takes the place of so many things nowadays. We send emails, we send text messages, we have a lot of ways to store information. So nobody is really writing letters as much. Just take an inventory of the holiday season that's coming up, right? Take inventory. How many Christmas cards do you get in the mail nowadays? You may get a few. And there are some people that live religiously by sending out cards every year to family and friends. But we live in such a technological society until you will probably get an e-card, right? Or before you get a physical card in the mail. So that's what I mean by manners evolving and changing. You're still being polite. You're still sending a greeting, but it's just the manner in which you receive it is sometimes different than how it was 40 or 50 years ago, because we didn't have the computer system. We didn't have the technology that we have today. How many times are you sitting in the same room, or sometimes just even in the same house, with a family member? And instead of good morning, Dee, good morning. How you sit, you're living in the same house with someone, but how many times might you send a text message to someone that's upstairs and you're downstairs instead of going upstairs to say what you need to say to them? Okay? Those are manners. You're still communicating. It's just the method by which you're doing it is different. So, whether you're doing it 19th century or whether you're doing it up to date to where we are today, it's still communication, but the method by which it's being done is different than what it was years ago. So, minding your manners, minding your P's and Q's. Just mind your manners. Be careful about the language that you use when you are in a professional setting or whatever setting that you are in. Be mindful about the language that you are using. Make sure that your language is appropriate to those that you are speaking to, those that you are addressing. Being on your best behavior. Being mindful, remembering to shake the person's hand, remembering to call them by their full name and their title if and when necessary. In some situations, in some environments, it's necessary to call a person by their full title. Whether we like number 45 or not, if we were to meet him or greet him, we would still address him as President Donald Trump. We wouldn't just walk up to him and say, Mr. Trump. You could do that, but you would be considered to be out of order. You would consider to be unprofessional, and it would be considered to be disrespectful. So that's part of what it all means. So no matter what your situation is, no matter where you are, minding your P's and Q's just means staying on top of it, being alert, being aware, addressing yourself and carrying yourself in a manner of the situation that you are in at that present time. And if you don't know, it's always appropriate to ask. Ask beforehand. I always advise when you're going into a situation and you don't know or you aren't sure what the proper protocols and what the proper manners should be, call me and I'd be happy to assist you. If you're unable to call me, ask an authoritative figure that you know would have the correct answer and then proceed accordingly. For those of you that are in church, when we're having events in church, like if you're going to a state meeting or things of that nature, and they get up and they make all of the announcements, at the end of the announcements, what is the phrase that they always use? You can type it in the comments because I know that you know. After they make all of the announcements and they've addressed, all of the pastors and all of those that are in their proper places in authority, at the end of the announcements, they always say, govern yourselves accordingly. They are actually minding their P's and Q's when they make that statement, and they are advising that you do the same. So good morning again. Thank you all for being here on this morning. I appreciate it. Please like and share across your various social media platforms. If you've not subscribed to my YouTube channel by the same name, Victoria School of Etiquette, go on over there, hit the subscribe button so that you have access to all of our video material right at your fingertips for your convenience. I am your etiquette educator, signing off on this Mindful Monday. Those of you that are joining the broadcast late, please be kind and rewind, and I will chat with you again. But right now, have a great day. Bye for now.